It used to be the people that bring their kids to these things. Now they're having drag shows for children, which is a sex show. And all of these things has made people basically say, whatever it is, LGBT.
If you think anyone doing drag, again, is inherently sexual, I think that says more about you than the drag show.
Very illegal actions, facing at least 11 cases and 10 arrest warrants since Duterte came into office. And the thing is, that's just the beginning.
The Philippines consistently ranks among the top 10 deadliest countries for journalists. Reports say as many as 19 of them have been killed since Duterte took office. At News of One, he replied, "Just because you're a journalist, you are not exempted from assassination if you're a son of a..."
Not to mention, I gotta be honest, in terms of strongmen, no one was as funny as Duterte. Duterte tops Trump. That man has so many unbelievable quotes. Again, I add him to the list of the Alex Joneses, the Yeas, the Donald Trumps, the people who are monsters, who do monstrous things, who do mass extrajudicial killings, yes, who have done crimes against humanity, who deserve to be going to the Hague, as he is right now. But at the same time, sometimes he'll say something and I just literally am sitting there and I'll do a spit take. Like that. Like, I don't know if you all know this, but for a long time, he was talking about how he used to be gay, but it was his wife's pussy that made him straight. And I was like, that's so beautiful. For again, a guy who's a pretty open homophobe. Like, he's a hardcore homophobe, by the way. Again, you know, Catholic country, heavy, you know, homophobic overtones. But it's like, it's one thing to say that my wife is so beautiful that she would turn a gay man straight, or my wife is so incredibly attractive that even gay men look at her. That in and of itself, like, oh wow, that's a pretty audacious statement, you know. But to straight up be like, I would have sucked cock, man cock, had it not been for my wife's pussy, which was so incredible, so powerful that it turned me straight. Like that. It's just, it's next level. It's like, you can't have a writer. There is no writing staff that'll ever be able to do that. You can't have a team of people who are sitting down, you know, and being like, well, what is the best angle to do here, sir? We need to really appeal to the public. We have a large demographic of people who are quite concerned about the potential, you know, rise in homosexuality in the country or something like that. Maybe you can condemn the gays while we're talking about this, or talk about traditional values, family values. Like, nah, I got this. I know exactly what angle I'm picking. I know which lane I'm going to be sticking into right here, and which lane actually stuck into me more than that. So there you have it.
And right-wingers are infuriated. This time because trans punk rock star Laura Jane Grace sang at Bernie Sanders' rally on Friday. And why are they outraged by this? Because Laura Jane Grace's song, this is the singer from the band Against Me, was extremely graphic. I got to be honest, it's so vulgar that I can't actually say it on YouTube. Isn't it funny when they do things like this? They claim there's nothing wrong with the books they put out to children. Or right now they're saying right-wingers are just infuriated by the song for no reason. And I literally cannot show you the lyrics on YouTube. Rose came out, which is the big album. I don't know that they've actually had as much success Against Me since then. I think technically they did when Laura Jane Grace, who used to go by the name Tom Gable, I'm pretty sure that's right, changed his name and transitioned, and then they saw a big...
Oh, gross. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of wild. Tim isn't being an asshole. He's not misgendering her. He's not dead-naming her. But we were only a minute into the video. So was that a minute and 47 seconds? This non-controversy apparently surrounds the fact that she performed at the Bernie Sanders stop in Kenosha. I'd like to remind everybody that Bernie Sanders right now is in a lot of deep red states and is holding rallies that are just breaking records across the board. Shame on you, Democrats. Shame on you, DNC. Shame on you for not recognizing what could have been a much nicer timeline for the world. I wouldn't have to be sitting here right now worried about if I'm going to see tanks rolling into the city under the entire auspices of Donald Trump wanting to turn us into his cherished 51st state. state and is invading with troops on the ground and reluctant Americans who probably don't want to be shooting their neighbors in the face. But hey, at the end of the day, Donald Trump commands and Donald Trump desires, because it seems like a lot more Americans are in tune with what Bernie Sanders puts out there, which is pretty wild. Check out Anna is a Stool Pigeon, an amazing song, both musically and left-wing politics. Hell yeah, I will. I'm going to become much more familiar with her work.
I, as well as many others, pro-gay marriage, saying, yeah, I literally don't care if like two dudes or two chicks are minding their own business in their house. The problem was...
No, you can't be like, oh, I don't care about this, but I am going to do videos where I try to fearmonger and get people to believe that support has been dropping. So, more than 2 in 3 Americans continue to believe that marriage between same-sex couples should be legal. 69%. Nice. Nearly as many say gay or lesbian relations are more acceptable. 64%. Both readings have been consistent, above the 50% mark since the early 2010s, and above 60% since 2017. The recent halt and a long-term upward trend are both indicators of public support for the LGBTQ+ community, reflect Democrats and independent support leveling off, while Republicans have dipped. The latest 69% of Americans who support same-sex marriage from Gallup's May 1st, 2023 Valise poll, similarly to the record high of 71% according to 2022 and 2023. Let's see if we can find aggregate polling with 2025 put in, because as much as I want the poll tracker 2024 politics and poll tracker, steady here, I'm going to assume that it's not 52%.
The narrative always in the beginning was, it's in the privacy of your own house. Where are we today? At Pride events across the country, there's
a new survey as of 2025, published March 4th. New survey shows 67% of Americans support same-sex marriage. Nearly 40% of white evangelical Protestants now support same-sex marriage rights. That's one of the findings of a new survey from the Public Religious Research Institute. NPR religious correspondent says, according to the PRRI American Values Atlas, more than 2/3 of Americans now favor the right for same-sex couples to marry. The survey found an increase in the share of people from more conservative religious backgrounds who favor marriage equality, 38%, while white evangelical Protestants now support same-sex marriage, up from 28% a decade ago. All right.
Always been gratuitous sex. That's a fact. As far as I can remember, my family owned a business on North Halsted in Chicago, which they call Boys Town. I wasn't allowed to go outside during Pride events because it was gratuitous sex, like literally men doing things to each other in the streets. We now...
Okay, Ralph. I just feel like this is a story you heard. And then they were having sex and fisting, and then I saw the fisting, and then the fisting looked at me.
I have videos of it in San Francisco. It is more rampant than ever. You have videos of nude men, one viral video of a guy wearing a Bugs Bunny mask, hopping around naked in front of children. Yeah, it used to be the people that bring their kids to these things. Now they're having drag shows for children, which is a sex show. And all of these things has made people basically say, whatever it is, LGBT.
If you think anyone doing drag, again, is inherently sexual, I think that says more about you than the drag show. Because, again, there's tons of drag performances by right-wingers. Crowder, Rudy Giuliani. You can go down the list where I don't think that those are in any way, shape, or form sexual. They're not sexual to me. If that was the author's intent, that's gross. Are you telling me that Rudy Giuliani was really trying to get Donald Trump to motorboat him so they could both get off? That's, again, wow, that's the president of the United States, you know? I don't think Michael Knowles is dressing up as Elizabeth Warren because Michael Knowles, again, is doing it so he can attract a whole bunch of people. I think he's a racist who wants to just do a racist bit and thinks it's extra funny if he does drag and racism at the same time. But yeah.
I am out. It's not just plummeting among Republicans. It's plummeting among everybody, particularly young people.
So every poll I can see, including 2024 aggregate polling, 2024 Gallup polling, shows that at least 69% of Americans continue to believe that marriage between same-sex couples should be legal. 64% say gay or lesbian relationships are morally acceptable. I mean, it's not like the overwhelming majority of the population, but it still is, nearly 70% of most of the polls that I can see here. And yeah, I wish it was 100%.
Young people are more likely to say it's gone too far, even Democrats. Let me show you what we got so far. In this post from Politics and Poll Tracker, Democrats, 77% support, 12% oppose. Independents, 45% support, 35 opposed. Oh, actually, wait. Yeah, opposed. And among Republicans, 65% opposed. Now, that's pretty obvious. This is an Economist YouGov poll, the latest data. We have this from politics.
I think things are either reversed or they just go back and forth. So Democrats, they flipped it from support to oppose. I get it. So the majority of Democrats and independents support. But in Republicans, in this one specific case, 65% oppose. Yeah, I guess that would be a you problem, right? Painting these ideas as normal is how they spread them. That is true. That is absolutely true. It's one of the reasons why they couldn't figure out for a long time why in, different generations, for example, there's huge amounts of data that shows that to them, it seems like people are getting way more gay. Because why is it that nearly 25% of, say, people in Gen Z were reporting to be LGBTQ plus in some way? And then in other generations, like millennials, myself, it's 14.2%, Gen X 5.1, baby boomers 3, the silent generation 1.8. So this is clearly either indicative of one of two things. There is a woke mind virus, and the ability to transform or turn people gay exists, and that because of the indoctrination coming in through the TikTok videos and everything else, people have become to queerify, which sounds beautiful. If only that was the case, I would just say to accelerate all the work that you're doing, and soon we can just gayify the world. Since that isn't scientifically true, though, what this indicates is that this generation, Gen Z, has a lot more access to online information, a lot more access to LGBTQ plus information related to topics that when I was a lad, we didn't even know about. I didn't know about non-binary people. I didn't know about the fact that there is a difference between cis and trans folk. But now you can go on TikTok and you can start looking up these videos and start researching this kind of stuff, even when you're younger, and recognize, holy shit, maybe that is who I am. I'm not sure, but I'm going to start to explore these ideas. That's one of the big reasons. Another is the less oppressed any one group will feel, the more you'll see them represented. One of the reasons why we keep showing the left-handedness, why people who are left-handed or identify as left-handed
clean up your room.
Very low amounts when they were persecuted and treated as satanic, and then when that stops, the line go up, and then all of a sudden it plateaus because there is just a percentage of the population that is naturally going to be left-handed.
All once supported same-sex marriage. Now, occurring in a new YouGov survey, it's underwater by Republicans by 41 points. Isn't that crazy? In 2021, Republicans 55% agreed. And then Democrats smashed that goodwill, bludgeoning the issue to death with trans and gender ideology issues. In 2021, Gallup released this poll. A record high 70% in the U.S. support same-sex marriage. Magic, wasn't it? 70%. If we go down, you can see this. For the first time, a small majority of Republicans support it. Republicans 55%, Democrats 83%. Amazing.
Clean up your room.
Let's jump forward.
So, by the way, if you were a LGBTQ plus person who voted for Donald Trump, I take no satisfaction in the You Fell For It awards, considering they are now actively targeting gay marriage. Especially I'm assuming the majority being white gay men. Those who think that, hey, by the way, as long as I remain a pick-me or remain one of the good ones, or the log cabin Republicans continue to oppose trans people and gender ideology and all that kind of stuff, they won't come for us. That's not how fascism works. Fascism doesn't really just have an off switch. There's not groups that are applying to be part of the master race. There's not like, hey, if you just wait long enough, this one group is eventually going to be perceived as totally key. That's not how this shit goes. It's an eliminationist project. They eventually try to ethnically and physically cleanse the earth of everything that isn't perceived as the superior race. That's what Nazis do. So, they're going to be eventually coming for same-sex marriage and trying to reverse same-sex marriage. And the best way to do that is to, again, rile up their base and continue to lie to them. It's very effective. Keep telling them, actually, gay people are trying to go after your kids. Gay people are trying to have sex with each other in public. Gay people are trying to, go after children at pride parades. All of that is very true. Drag queens are a danger to your kids. They've been doing that for a while. Then they obviously, have been enjoying the amount of victories they've gotten electorally, and not by majority decision, by the way. They keep saying that Donald Trump won by a landslide. A third of the country didn't vote for him. A third of the country didn't vote at all. And so those who did vote for him are the ones now trying to push this idea that everything that they believe is enormously popular. It's not enormously popular. As the own polling that, Tim Pool just showed you, the majority of Americans are not anti-gay. The majority of Americans are not anti-gay marriage even. If he's saying that there's a rise in the amount of Republicans, well, that has something to do with him making content like this because they want there to be a rise in anti-gay hysteria and anti-gay hatred. And yeah, that's going to be the next venue that they go down. Obviously, there's no such thing as a safe member of the LGBTQ plus community within the Republican or the right at all. It sucks, but it's just, it's just the truth.
Yes, all of the liberals run to the voting booth.
That wasn't right. That's a lie.
That wasn't right. That's a lie.
But it works, so we don't care. Now you wish we'd all shut up, but make our clothes and fix our hair. And our love's not a sin. Well, the Bible says it's so.
Well, the Bible says a lot of things, you know?
We're going back to the fucking Funny or Die days. Tim, this is a skit. Everything eventually is part of some grander scheme. Like you can't just watch a thing. Like he's eventually going to be talking about how Shadow the Hedgehog was actually a premonition, a foreboding reality that no one listened to, and then that's why people need to be marched off to Gitmo because Sonic was not understanding of how tortured Shadow truly was. Was he truly the villain of the story, or was it him? Is Knuckles the bad guy, or is Knuckles righteous? It's hard to know. And it's like, oh, but that's a video game series, originally for the Sega Master System, eventually for the Genesis, and yeah, it turned into a very popular film trilogy. It's not real life. Sketches made by liberals in order to try and push the idea that gays aren't evil and that religious fundamentalism is kind of fucked up. It was not, in fact, trying to, predict or indoctrinate children. And I like, how old is this skit? 8 years? 10 years?
Can go wrong.
Percent of Democrats. But now let me give you this famous moment. Let's just, I don't really care to play I'll play the whole thing. Some of you may not have seen it. I think it's really cringe, but I'll play it for you guys anyway.
It's a brand new bright Obama day. What a time to be black, a girl, or gay. No, nothing could go wrong. So join us in this song of happy days for the gays. Nothing can go wrong.
Look, nobody's watching. It's time to spread some hate and put it in the Constitution.
Now, how?
Proposition 8.
Proposition 8.
Now, I want to pause real quick how they say it's hate. It was literally just a question. Is marriage between a man and a woman? And majority of California said yes. So when they called it hate, it's very weird to see majority of California said that it is true. And they called, okay, so majority of California is hateful.
What do you think? Right? Why'd you gotta hide all the time? Not just behind this, but behind the beanie, ultimately. I could tell you right now, even if it wasn't popular, even if the majority of the country was like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that gay people should be allowed to marry, I would be like, well, I think that's repugnant. Why? I think that's pretty much just distilled a very raw form of bigotry, because ultimately, who are you to say that two people can't love each other? It doesn't have to just be a man and a woman. Now, you might say, well, yeah, that's you virtue signaling because it's safe to do so, Lance. Well, there's a lot of things that I'd say leftists advocate for that are not currently the way. It's not the current popular policy. That doesn't mean that I don't think that it would make for a better society. Honestly, why don't we just stay out of people's business? Why don't we stay out of their bedrooms? Two consenting adults, if they want to love each other, what is that of you? I think that's pretty easy. And just because a lot of people at one point or another have been indoctrinated by religious fundamentalism, or even people who are trying to skirt around the sidelines and be like, well, I'm not an anti-gay bigot. I just think that, come on, this is pretty wild that the musical happened years ago, and now if you look at this poll, Republicans are starting to think the same way that Californians did in the past. I mean, the thesis that he's putting forward here is that the gays have gotten out of control, because they got too much rights. Because gay people were allowed to marry, gays suddenly realized that they were allowed to parade themselves in public, and because of that, they effectively were starting to push for a lot of measures, which he's just doing the gay panic. Gay panic is oftentimes surrounding the fear and trying to instill a fear within people that gay people are coming for your kids, that they're going to potentially either indoctrinate children, molest children, or abuse children, or abduct children. And because of that, they have to be curtailed, tamed, arrested, castrated, or killed. And so that's basically the purpose of the entire, him pushing right now that this is a problem, everybody. You got to be worried about this. Republicans are they're waking up. They're waking up to the reality that gays, unfortunately, are taking things too far. And it's like, this is kind of fucked up. Gay rights in the United States did not come single-handedly as a result of gay marriage being legalized. It was years and years of suffering, years and years of protests, years and years of riots, years and years of fighting back against the system that was trying to oppress them. This is why I have a lot of problem with people who use, LGBTQ plus rights as a justification for, say, invading other countries, being like, well, we have liberal democracy. Because we have liberal democracy, it defends things like LGBTQ plus representation. So I'm now going to be justified in saying that those evil Muslims in that other country do not. And so it's totally valid for me to go invade them. It's like, it wasn't liberal democracy. It wasn't just that like liberals woke up one day and were like, you know what, gays, you get rights because this is just part of the entire neoliberal order. That's not at all what happened. Again, a lot of this came through suffering, blood, people protesting, and fighting against bigots like this who want to continue to push, the lies that queer folks are inherently going to be a danger to children.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This video wouldn't be at all possible without the financial support of all the people whose names you see on the screen right now. And if you want to unlock secret bonus episodes, content that we can't post anywhere else, or get the videos early before anyone else gets to see them, please go on to patreon.com/theserfs. For as little as $1, you can help support this channel and help make more videos like this possible. Our executive producers are Anna Loves Riley, Adrian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Garrett Sandoval, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Boehm, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demel, Tigwick, Trav, and Words Greenwood. And also, it wouldn't be possible without all the names you see on the screen right now. Again, if you want to help produce this content, it's only made possible through the funding of our patrons. Head on down to patreon.com/theserfs. That's patreon.com/theserfs.